Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mark with Limo Marketer, and I'm joined here by Ken Donovan from Donovan's Limo in Florida, just outside you're about an hour east of Orlando, right?
Yeah, about 45 minutes. I'm about 30 minutes south of Port Canaveral, which is our big money maker.
Nice. Okay.
I tell people Cocoa Beach, if they're not from Florida, and everyone goes, okay, Cocoa Beach,
Yeah. Where is that exactly?
Right. I did well. If you're old as I am, it's I Dream of Jeannie, and I get all the, say hi to Colonel Nelson.
So, anyways, I interviewed Ken 2 years ago, and we were actually just talking 10 minutes ago. How long has it been? Ken's been working with us since the beginning, right, Ken? Since you actually started your company, and that was December 2021 when we first started. And so it's really kind of cool seeing, because that interview was 2 years ago. YouTube said 2 years ago, so I'm guessing it was probably around the same time. Do you know?
No, not really.
Yeah, me neither. No, yeah. Anyways,
I was just a baby back then.
Yeah. So the first one was a year and a half in. Now we're 3.5 years in, and Ken really has an interesting business model that actually I would say now I see more often than not. So how do you structure right now your operations, Ken?
So in the beginning, you kind of have to make a decision on whether, if you want to own a huge fleet or not, and so I didn't want to take over the world. So, with more vehicles, that means you need to store it with security, and now you're renting a place, and now you're hiring employees. I didn't want that. And so what I do is I own one Cadillac Escalade, and what I do is I'm the one that pays for the marketing. And so I get all of the leads, and so I've got 13 people now that I work with.
Wow.
I think a year and a half ago it was only like 4 or 5, but you learn not to put all of your eggs in one basket. And I've had some drivers come and go, and so what I do is I get the leads and I dole them out. And so I'll get a lead that says, in 2 weeks I need a pickup from Orlando Airport going to Port Canaveral with 10 passengers returning a week later, and I've got 4 guys and a girl that have got the Ford Transit or Sprinter vans, and I just take a screenshot of the lead and I go, what's your availability and your rate? What's yours? And someone will say, I'm not available. That's fine. I can do it for 200. I can do it for 225. I can do it for 235. And then I'll choose one and then add $50, $75 on top of it. And I charge I charge the customer. I get paid 2 weeks in advance. And the minute they're dropped off, I use Zelle mostly, so I can track to the driver. So I pay them immediately. I don't beat them up about costing. The people that I get are their own business owners. They have to be the business owner. And with that, you get a business owner mentality. If you have an employee, and I used to manage hundreds of people, if you have an employee mentality, not always, but generally.
No. Totally.
I don't.
Agent issues, right?
I don't need somebody calling me up at 2 a.m. saying my doggy's sick and I'm not going to be there for 5 a.m. Whereas an owner will get it done.
Yes.
And so what I do is they know they're competing against one another, and so they give me preferred rates. And I've learned doing this in Orlando, it's a very competitive market. And so there is a price point that you need to hit. And so I'm not the most expensive. I'm kind of about this at the 75th, 80th percentile.
Yep.
But I've been doing it for a while now, and so I've built up a lot of reviews. Mark and I were just talking. Right now, it's showing I have like 270 5-star reviews. It really should be over 300. Google, it's the second time it's happened that they've just kind of, and I don't know why.
Me neither, because they're all like, well, you can read the review. You can tell when someone's got real reviews generally, because I've talked to a few business owners recently where I was like, okay, if you're gonna buy reviews, first off, I don't really recommend that, and second off, at least have them be specific, because that's generally how people are when they leave real reviews. If they write something, it's not just like, oh, great ride. I mean, maybe once in a while, but the best ones are always they're telling you who the chauffeur was, maybe who they dealt with on the phone, and giving you specific details about the ride itself. But you had 120 when I interviewed you 2 years ago, and now, yeah, you'd easily have, if it weren't for that Google thing, probably like, I don't know what, another 80 to 100 more.
Yeah.
Well,
and like everybody else, I've got one star review.
By the way, I don't even know how have you done that? I really like, because eventually you just get someone that you can't make happy.
I can only, I don't know. I guess it's going to sound corny. It's passion.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know how you've only gotten one, because when you do enough volume, you've done thousands of trips,
thousands.
Yeah, I know. That's wild.
It's
what does it take?
Consistency is what it takes, and and it's not rocket science. It's when people are paying you a couple $100 to pick them up at 4 a.m. to go on their vacation, which is treasured by people. Don't mess with somebody's vacation. You have to be there, period. And so what they want is a warm fuzzy feeling the day before, that they know that someone knows that they need to be picked up at 4 a.m. So we text them a confirmation the day before. Hey, this is Ken, your driver, Donovan's Limousine. I'll be at 1234 Main Street at 4 a.m. I'll text you my ETA when en route. Looking forward to meeting you. That's how it goes. And that's the format that all of my affiliates use. I make sure they use it. I text it to them. I go, this is what I want. If you want my business, and they get a lot of business from me, 20, 30, $40,000 a year.
Right? That's probably another big piece of loyalty, right? Pricing, and how I've got so many questions. How do you find unless I don't want you to give up any trade secrets, but I'm curious. Like,
in my previous life, I managed. I was the assistant manager for Costco, and so I did it for 15 years, and I had 300 employees working for me. I was always in charge of the hiring. And so
that's actually perfect in some ways, right? Because I'm sure I got
so good at it that I could tell just by the way somebody walked towards me for the interview whether or not I was going to hire them. That's how
Really.
When you open a building up and you have a team of 12 managers working for you that are interviewing one person every 15 minutes for 12 hours a day for 6 weeks, nonstop.
Gosh.
And so you just
brutal, by the way.
It is. It's not for the faint of heart. And you're exhausted every day. And so, what I do is I always have my eye out for talent. And that's one of my talents, is finding talent.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when I take people to concerts in Orlando or to dinner for anniversaries or whatever, drivers, we've got 2, 3, 4 hours to kill. And so where do we go? We go to Starbucks or Wawa or whatever local places, or we're just hanging outside the venue, and you meet a lot of people. And if somebody impresses me, they've got a nice vehicle, they're the owner, I give them my business card and I take them under my wing, and then I test them out. They're usually a cleanup hitter at first. I give them the 2 a.m. runs, and then they kind of graduate, and then suddenly, 3 of them, they get 10 texts a day from me. What's your availability and rate? What's your availability? And it's I'm I guess the giver of the leads, and so they make money. I make money, but I've terminated quite a few of them. Like I had one guy who called me up. I didn't meet this one. He called me up and begged me. And he had a 14-passenger Sprinter, a nice guy. And I put food on the table for a year, and one day he just decided he was too big for, his britches, and he just said, look, I'm not gonna confirm with customers the day before. You do it. And I go, no, that doesn't make sense. And so we parted ways. I said, look, if you can't adhere by the guidelines that I've given you, you're not gonna work for me.
I
And
get
he lost 15 runs in the future. I took them all back and gave them to somebody else.
Yeah, I guess I kind of don't understand. Like, I would think that would be just,
It's a given.
for minimum stuff, right? It's like, come on, like people want to know that, hey, because you're exactly right. I've ordered a lot more, for the longest time I used to do Ubers. Now I try to do whenever I'm going on a trip, using, my clients in the area. And that feeling when you have an early morning pickup the next morning, you want to like know you want to get that. It's that communication, because it's always lingering in your mind. What if they forget?
They don't show up.
Yeah. What if they don't show up?
Yeah.
And so, people are kind of paying for peace of mind.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got a family of 5, 4 a.m. that's taking a flight to Barcelona to get on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean. That wants to know. But so it's the communication. It's a lot of it's communication.
Yeah.
The day before, reaching out. On my way, I text them, I'm en route. And then when their flights land, I always tell them the day before in my confirmation that I'll be tracking your flight. If it's delayed, I'll be there regardless of what time you land, because Florida, we got thunder.
Oh, sure.
That's what we did.
A lot of that.
And we got extra buffer times. And, and then you'll have a text from me on where to meet when you land. And so I've got the apps for MCO Airport in Sanford and Melbourne and all the local airports. And when they're en route, I can see they're en route. And I've got a template that I have in your software that text them. And all they do is say,
high level. Yep.
Flight, text me when you get off the plane. Your bags are at Terminal B, baggage claim number 20. When you come down the escalators, I'll be at the bottom of the sign with your last name on it in yellow. And I'll meet you there. So it's the communication. And then the next part of it is you've got to have a stellar vehicle. It's got to be clean.
Yeah.
It's got to smell good. And the idea is that they're frazzled. They've been traveling, and the minute those doors close, and I've got Sinatra, or usually it's been yacht rock, a lot of yacht rock.
Wait, what's
yacht rock? It's an XM radio station.
Okay.
That plays kind of 70s, kind of, it's kind of mellow music, a lot of Eagles, a lot of, so it's neutral,
Yeah.
And so, because you don't want rap, you don't want heavy metal.
Yeah.
Classical music for a 30-year-old crowd. No, you know what I mean? And so it kind of touches a lot of bases. And so, I've got water, but it's chilled. It's chilled water. And so the idea is that they sit, and I see them sigh. They get in the vehicle. They've been up since 2 a.m, and they've been TSA, and they've been 100 push-ups, and they've walked 6 miles, and they've got their bags, and now the door closes. It's quiet. It's leather. The cool water, and then now your vacation starts. And so that's the experience that I attain, or hope to attain. And so we do it most of the time. So
that's a perfect description, kind of like a master class. And why do people, pay the extra money? It's not just for the peace of mind.
Yeah.
It reminds what you just went through, that whole thing. I watched I listened to this podcast, Founders. It's really good. They were talking about Bernard Arnault. He's the owner of LVMH, right? Which is
Bernard,
one of the richest people in the world. Yeah.
I think he's 3rd richest now. He's only like 80 million.
Exactly. And so the reason I bring him up is so he understands luxury, and it's all in the details. He will go to the stores himself. I don't know if he still does to this day, but he will comment on the sales rep's shoes, right? Because every little detail, luxury is about the details, right? And what you just went through, from the music to the temperature the car is probably set at, to how it smells, to everything, really all 5 senses, you want certain inputs for those.
And you also need to be able to read a room. You know, like in my previous life, I worked in the software business as a project manager, and they would bring me in towards the end of the sales meetings because they wanted to meet the project manager. And so, you know, you never answer a question that you don't already know what the answer is, right? And so you don't make anything up. You need to know what the call is. And so, you know, and how that pertains to what we do as a living is the ride that I would give for a family of 5 going on a Disney cruise for the first time is a completely different ride that I would give to a businessman who I'm taking to another airport. This guy's on the phone. He's working. He doesn't want chit chat.
Yeah.
Right? The guy wants to work. So you need to be able to shut your mouth. You know, a lot of people get nervous, you know, to have to fill like this dead space. And it's, you know, and I can, you know, and you glance behind you and you can see the glow of a cell phone. The guy's texting, the guy's on this, he's doing emails, you know. If people are talking quietly in the back, I'll turn the music down because I want to make sure they can hear each other. It's little things of being attentive.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's being able to read a room. And also you get really good at, well, you know, where are you going to and things like that. Like if I'm going to like a new restaurant or a new hotel, the day before I'm driving, I go to Google Maps. There's nothing more embarrassing than going to a nice fancy restaurant. They're all dressed to the nines and you pull into the parking lot, but you pulled into the wrong parking lot. Now you got to go back out on the street, pull around, or worse, you're doing a 3-point turn next to the garbage dumpsters with the cooks outside smoking cigarettes. Like you want to be able to have it so that you pull up to the front like a rock star, and then they get out on the passenger side and I walk around the front. You know, it's like, to me.
Sorry, Ken, you weren't in this industry before you started this business?
I was always in the service industry. You know, you're able to translate that.
Yeah. Wow.
Because
I'm like, how'd you learn? You know?
It's embarrassing, you know, and you
learn your trade before where you're like, okay, I don't want that to happen again, right?
Yeah. I mean, you learn your trade, you know what I mean? And it's, you know, and you just like anything else, you strive to excel at it. And so, you know, I mean, I just literally before I got on this call with you, you know, I threw out a rate to a customer and she's like, well, Uber's only $85. And I was like, thank you. You know, we don't compete against Uber. No. You know, like if you're an Uber customer, you know, I used to travel for business. All I cared about sometimes was a taxi from the hotel to the airport. That's it. But you're on vacation, you know, you splurge a little bit. You expect that higher level of service. You know, Uber, if you want to play guess that smell all the way to the airport, that's your business, you know?
Yeah. And so, and I run into this all the time where, you know, I'll be talking to a client and they will describe that situation you just said, and your response was thank you. And I think you know, and I understand how it can be frustrating because at that point, a lot of people think before the thank you, which that's what you're supposed to say, you know, you know, your job isn't to justify your rates. And the moment you actually start to do that, you just come off just the wrong way. And so it's just not your ideal customer. And unfortunately, when you do online marketing, and this is the funny thing about this, and one of the reasons I want to do this interview, we've adjusted our targeting and how I tell people it works when you do search advertising is we are targeting people up until about 6 months ago. How it worked is based on what they search in Google and their physical location. Those are the two things. So if they're searching, let's say limo service to MCO, right? And I always give people this scenario. Let's say 2 people in a similar location search the exact same thing. One of them is someone who uses black car services often. For some reason, their regular transportation provider isn't available. The other person has never used them before, has no idea what they cost, right? And the same search, your ad has the same likelihood of showing to both people. And if you get the person that you had who said, oh, well, Uber's such and such, it's like, that's just not your customer, right?
Yeah.
And up until recently, I just said, hey, that's just a part of, that's almost cost of doing business. You're going to get people who, they're not searching taxi or Uber. I can
Right.
guarantee you that.
Yeah.
But they just don't know what these sorts of services cost.
Exactly. They're
And
kicking
so,
tires.
exactly. And so, now how we've shifted, and this is why I love working with Ken, because he's the most consistent. Probably you're the most consistent, and I have clients who are very consistent, but you are just like, you can just tell from this interview, Ken always does what needs to be done,
Oh
and he's
yeah.
very meticulous about keeping the software we provide him updated with, hey, was it a qualified lead, right? Did they end up booking? How much for? Because we now send all of that data back to the Google Ad account, and over time, it's learning who Ken's ideal clients are so that they're not showing ads to the ones that aren't the ideal client. And you might say, well, how do they know? Well, because do you have a Google account, right? I've had my Gmail account and some sort of Google account for probably 15 years.
They know everything.
I get all of my Amazon receipts, anytime I buy something, my airline, hotel, they know how much money I make approximately, because they have these machine learning algorithms that they're looking at. Okay, stay at this hotel, buying this. They can guess, I'm sure, within $50,000 to $100,000, and on the, or within maybe $10,000 of how much money you make based on your purchases and all these different receipts. And so now, not everyone, if you're searching from a private browser or something,
Right.
then obviously they can't track that. But many people, we found about 70% or so, it knows who they are. And so Ken has been consistently, and he's one of the first ones we implemented this for. It's actually been probably more like 4 months, but we fooled around with the settings a lot. And so over time, the goal is just getting you less and less of those people that mention the Uber thing. And it's never going to be perfect because the whole private browser thing and certain percentage use that. But that's really the goal. And long-winded way of saying, Ken, thank you. That's exactly what you say.
Yeah.
You don't justify your rates, and it's just not your ideal sort of client, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I put the high level software on steroids. Like I've got my own templates. My thing is, if I'm typing something over and over again, make a template and type it once the way it should sound,
exactly.
Spellings, and so I've got I just said, hi, hi, so-and-so, we sincerely appreciate your response and reaching out to us for a quote. We completely understand that you don't always need luxury car service. If at any time in the future you want our service for a special event, we would be honored to give you a quote. Our best to you, Donovan's Limousine. I don't get into the
perfect.
I don't get into the, well, if you're going to do Uber or, but sometimes if people say they want rental cars, I'll add stuff because and even when I'm on the phone, I'll help them.
That's the goal, right? Your help. That's the difference. I'm going to help them make a decision.
We've got a whole, there's a Ocala and the villages where there's a lot of retirees, and they're on fixed budgets and they'll reach out for a car service, and a lot of times they call because the Google's too much for them. And, and so I'm on the phone with them and they're like, oh my God, that's too expensive. And I go, and they want to hang up. I go, no, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Look, if you're looking for a shuttle service, here's a good shuttle service. I see them all the time, and it's like, it's no skin off my back to be nice to people, because
no, exactly.
They come back. I never get into it back and forth with them.
Yeah, no, I like that. And that is such a good thing to remember if you do any sort of online marketing, because I feel like a lot of times it just drains you.
Yeah.
If you're trying to justify, if the moment they say the Uber thing and they bring up a lower rate, that's just not your client. Just think of it as that's just not a good lead, right?
Yeah, that's just not a good fit.
Yeah, or exactly.
And and also what I come across is, and anybody that's starting out in this, and it's one of the hardest things to do, is know your worth. Okay. And so when I give a person my rate, it's my rate, and sometimes they'll come back at me because everyone's looking for a deal, and they're like,
I know.
I got XYZ service that can do it for $100 less. And I'm like, good for you. Have a nice day. I said, I don't compete because the reasoning that I use is there's so many brokers. I said, you might be talking to a service that doesn't have a single car on the road, so they don't know anything. They're just a broker trying to take money. You might be talking to 4 guys in a hotel room in Pakistan. You know what I mean?
No, totally.
And so I don't compete, and I think I was like, does that work for the airlines? My rate to Miami is $400. Hey, how about $300? That doesn't work. Rates. And I'm not nasty about it. It's just like, I just gave you my rates. That's it.
It's just a matter of fact, sort of, there's, not really emotion tied to it. I feel like for me, and likely because of what I do, I just can tell when I'm searching. For instance, I was searching for, we had a bunch of spider problem at our place. So I was looking for pest control, and it's just all these, the big guys. And me, myself, I love finding a local, a lot of times owner operator or someone, it's a smaller business. I know it's their business because there's no one that cares more.
Yep.
Right. So when someone calls Donovan's Limo,
yep,
and they're reading all the reviews, and you get Ken on the phone and the reviews all say Ken, that is right there. I know this person's going to take care of me. They care. It's their business. And especially when you have as many 5-star reviews as you do, and they're all real reviews. It's like, this guy, no matter what happens, he's going to take care of me.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Because you don't.
I'm also climbing the ranks of TripAdvisor. And so that's another big one.
So okay. So tell me about that, because I had a client.
It's hard to get into.
A week ago. Okay.
It took me.
Well, you can build a profile on it, right? But
it took me about 4 months to finally break through their armor. I think I just wore them out, because when you get to I don't know, there's 10 steps, and it's it's daunting, but you go.
I didn't realize. So anyone can't just list their bit. It's not that easy.
No. They got buffers and buffers of people.
But in a way, that's a good thing if you stick to it, because that's going to deter a lot of people, right?
And I thought I got through the final hurdle, but then there was the one boss hurdle, and that was
it's like a video game, the final boss, right?
Final Karen with the haircut. That was, and so they wanted me to use their platform to book. And they were like, look, you want access to our customers?
I didn't even know they did that. Wait.
Well, they immediately wanted 25%.
Wow, they're like doing an Amazon.
That's just going to force me to raise my rates 25%. I didn't want to do that. But the real deal breaker is that they demanded that I be available within 4 hours of any booking. So at 2 in the morning, somebody, sitting on their Barcalounger in Seattle says, I'm going to be there at 6 a.m. and I would have to be there while I'm sleeping in the middle of the night. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
That sounds nuts.
And so I would keep submitting it, and I would get knocked down. And they finally just said, we give up, you win. And so I started out, I got a great little profile on TripAdvisor. I started out at number, because it's ranked, you know what I mean? You want to get to the top 10.
No, totally. Yeah.
And I started out at number 419 of transportation in Orlando. And just I checked yesterday, I'm up to number 42, I think. So I'm in
419. Oh my gosh.
But you're competing against really weird things, because a lot of people.
Sure, yeah. It's not.
I'm competing against the Disney monorail because it's transportation.
Oh God. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. I see. Yeah. So the overall category. I was gonna say, I know it's a big market, but I didn't know it's happening.
Yeah, and so I was number 42. So I'm and I've got 18 reviews there. In fact, I went back because in the software, one of the stages, you know what I mean? So when a quote first comes in, it's a new quote.
Yeah.
And then when I new lead, and then when I change it and I give them a quote, I say it's quoted, and that triggers some automatic texting that I've set up. And then when I book, it also triggers another one. But when the job is done, then I send them when I change it to jobs complete, they get a text from me asking for a review. It's got a picture of me on it.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
My first one is if you could leave a review, and I've got a link to my TripAdvisor account. And then I didn't want to lose the Google ones, and I said, and if you really love us, leave us a review on Google. That. And I said, P.S. It can be the same review. You know what I mean? So they could just And
geez, you should be doing my job, man. Why haven't I thought of that?
I just want to make and so not everybody does it, but enough do it that So I've got, and I just started on TripAdvisor probably about 2-3 months ago, and so I've got 18 reviews so far. And so I only needed 15 to get an excellent badge, which is really kind of stupid. And I was angry that I didn't have an excellent badge, because in order to get these badges, you've got to use their booking platform. I read the fine print, so I'm never going to.
Oh, anyway. Damn it. I was going to say, I'm like, any sort of like badge / trust symbol, we want to put those on your landing page, because
I was so excited. I got my 16th review, and I was checking TripAdvisor like every 10 minutes. Like, what I mean? I'm eating like fried chicken in my living room. I'm like walking into my, no, not yet. Okay, maybe it's July 4th weekend. Okay, maybe they don't come in until Monday. And then after my 18th, I was like, oh, come on.
That's lame.
And I clicked on, and it showed all the check marks of things that you have to do in order to get their badges. And one of them is use their booking platform, which I'm never going to do.
Yeah. So the 25%, that seems pretty high to me, but like whatever, they're giving you the business, they can determine that, or whatever. You set your own rate, so you can probably still make it work. But the 4 hours, that's the one that's like, that's a little
deal breaker,
right? Like that's crazy. Yeah.
And I decided to go for Yelp, even though I heard terrible things about it. And I got a professional Yelp page going, and I had 3 quote requests through Yelp, and I nailed one of them.
Nice.
I'm taking.
No, why not, man?
August 9th. It's a 5-hour trip. I'm making.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. So I've heard. Yeah, people love it or hate it.
Yeah.
And so I always tell everyone, what do you think?
It's free.
What do you think about Yelp? Give it a try. Yeah.
Free.
See, okay. See, there you go. So some people hate it.
I made $600 on a free. It was nothing.
Yeah. No cost, right?
Yeah,
you just list yourself. It's all organic. I'm sure they're gonna.
Yeah, and I get the phone calls constantly. I get the phone calls all the time now. It's funny because now that I've got a presence, I've gotten leads from. I've gotten phone calls from like the local magazines. Like what's happening in Cocoa Beach or Space Coast Daily. And I got. She just called me out of the blue. I picked it up, Donovan's Limousine, and she was writing an article for local things, and they wanted to feature Donovan's Limousine.
Oh,
and so I'm getting a bunch of leads from them, and then and then so I've got some of the hotels called me, and they gave me a real big sales pitch, and they wanted.
No, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. They wanted a 2-year contract commitment. They wanted, $600. It was ridiculous. And I was like, no. And then they came back and said, all right, how about a year? I was like, no. I said, let's try 3 months. And they're like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, at this point, I'm gone.
They're going to, right? Or did they?
Yeah, I passed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That week, I actually had a drop off at the hotel. I parked the car, walked inside, and went, man, it's nice, but I'm not paying for this.
Yeah,
people are walking, they're walking back and forth in the lobby, with their, in their bathing suits with a cocktail. They're not looking for,
Yeah, and it's one of those things I feel like they should do. Like, it's like, well, if it works, look, I'm going to stay, It's funny. I guess people can make the argument to everyone.
And now, because of Google and my reviews, I'm getting phone calls directly from cruise ships out to sea.
No way.
I was
that doesn't surprise me, actually. Because look, these guys like you in your job, right? Interviewing every 15 minutes. Like these guys choose vendors, right? And so they're professionals at choosing vendors. And you can just tell by your Google business profile if you just start reading some reviews.
Yeah, but it's really cool to look at your cell phone that says Royal Caribbean on it. You're like, wow, the whole corporation's calling me, and I'm like Donovan's Limousine, and it's usually so there's
Yeah,
different
tell me,
classes
how
in
does
this.
this work exactly?
Yeah,
That's wild.
so it's there's different classes, I guess, in a boat, right? And so
Yeah, sure, yeah.
people that pay the suites and everything, they get their own
Included
concierge
car
person.
service.
They get their own guy. You know what I mean? And so they'll walk out, one night and they'll say, hey, we forgot to get, transportation back to the airport tomorrow. And so I'm like, he's like, oh, I'm calling from the wonder of the seas. This is, Ernesto, the concierge for Mr. Petrie. He's got 4 passengers that need to be picked up on Saturday. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I got you.
Oh,
So so now I'm getting regular phone calls from Royal Caribbean. Yeah. And I'm also getting a lot of private jets.
Really?
With,
Wow.
With, services that I haven't done NetJets yet, but basically they're brokers, and they've got high-end clients, and I've got a couple of regular high-end.
Oh, those are like the cream of the, like, are you kidding me? That's like,
and they're a lot of fun though. That's the good side of the business though too. Also, is to be able to sit in a car for 45 minutes to an hour talking to a CEO of a corporation that does $2 billion, and he's 30 years old. You know what I mean? Really to see what entrepreneurs are, it's. I've had some fascinating rides. I mean, it'll blow your mind. It's a lot of fun.
Like that kind of access is just like, so that conversation, for instance, with like, someone who's probably worth hundreds of million, maybe even billions of dollars, you can't even get meetings like that. And if you do, like, granted, it wasn't like he was doing a consult for you, but still, like, that's something that not many people can experience.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you got to be careful in those conversations.
No, of course.
You got to have to read the room. I mean, if he's open about it, and or if he'll grumble something about his business, and then it's kind of like a little mini interview. And it's just basically because I'm fascinated by it.
Oh no, totally.
I had one guy who has he had a $1 billion insurance business and a mining business, and I was like, what? Those don't go together. He goes, I know.
Different.
A nice jet, I can tell you that. And they're and they're really down to earth people. It's time, man. They're what are you worth an hour? If you're worth $50,000 an hour, and then it pays for you to spend $20,000 an hour on it, make the big decisions.
Yeah, no.
And so, but it's great though. But yeah, so Google is great. TripAdvisor, I'm climbing the ranks. Yelp, I'm getting it. I've gotten some of the local magazines now that are doing it. I'm getting phone calls from cruise ships. I'm getting a lot of calls from private jet brokers. And what's happening now over the course of 3 years is now I've got a really good base of steady clients.
Nice.
And so it's it's like the downside is they wait until the damn last minute to hey Ken, what's today? Well, Wednesday now. Are we went Tuesday, Wednesday? I don't know, but they're like, hey Ken, Friday, can you pick me up at 4 a.m.? I'm like, sure.
Yeah. Ken always makes it work. Ken, And
the ones that I haven't heard from in 2 or 3 months, I'm able to text them. I'm like, Carol, you guys hadn't had a rock and roll trip in 6 months. What's going on? Are you slacking? And a lot of times they'll come back and they'll go, you know what? We were just talking about doing a trip to Las Vegas again, So,
that's awesome. So you are using it to do like follow-up outreach for clients that are local. Is that kind of?
Yeah, that's more kind of on the fly stuff.
Oh, okay.
I've got a core of probably 20 clients that I'm with 5-6 times a year.
Okay.
Nice. One of them, Keith, he's a great guy, really loud and boisterous, and they always do. There's a restaurant that once a month or every few months they do this special paired selection with wine, and it's a winery, and I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, he called me on a Friday at 3, and I had I was booked that night, and he's like, Ken, I know it's last minute, but can you pick us up? I didn't, I want to drink wine tonight. I want to drive.
Yeah.
And so I put it in my calendar, for the next time that it's going to come around, and I'm going to text him, and I go, Keith, you got the wine. You got the wine thing coming up this weekend. I'm available. If you want to, you know what I mean. But it's like but those are like kind of my I've got a real core base now, and I drop everything for them.
No, so
I have enough depth now, and I have enough good people working for me that I trust, so that I can hand off something that to one of those people, and so that's also nice.
Yeah.
To trust your people.
Yeah, no, totally. There's so many like lessons here, but like on that note, it's so funny. Like I'll get smaller operators who you call in, they have this long phone tree or something, and it's funny because I've noticed a lot of times the small guys want to pretend like they're these big companies, and it's like they've got it backwards. No, the whole deal, the value, people love being able, I'm sure this, to text you, hey Ken, right? They know you. It's like you're almost their friend who gives them a ride, right?
I am friends with them,
Yeah, no. And so, hey, like this guy right here, and it's like they don't want to be talking to a different person every time they call in. There's something about that personal touch, right? And
Absolutely.
you kind of knowing them, sending that text with the wine thing, like, are you kidding me? Like,
right.
Especially for these guys that, they're busy, they, make a lot of money. They've got a million things on their mind. Are you kidding me? This guy's like, on me, like with the transportation and thinking about it. So I don't have to, I can't tell you, like, I'm not even that busy compared to like any of these guys, but anyone who can take something off my plate that I don't have to think about, I'm like, keep that person around, right?
And I do, and I do special things for them too. I don't go to Miami, but I made an exception. You know what I mean? Because Miami is like,
how long? What is that? 5 or 6 hours, or
it's about 4.5 hours down, 4.5 back. But let me tell you,
that's a long day, man.
The last 2 hours, the last 2 hours driving into Miami is just white knuckle. It's awful.
Oh, really?
The problem is that Miami Airport is a gauntlet. They got police patrolling it everywhere, and the permitting to get a permit in Miami is ridiculous. It's
really.
Oh my! They want a PC. They want a percentage of your profits. They want 7%. You have to submit your financials to Miami International Airport every month, and they take 7% of your profit of your gross income.
Wait, what percent?
Plus $1,000 a year. And so
I've never even heard of that before. Like, what is this, California? Like, maybe California is like, or New York, I could see doing that. Not Florida. Florida doesn't seem like interesting.
So I did what most people do. I took a chance. I have one driver that goes down there once a month, totally illegal.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, okay, don't go in the first one, don't go in the second one, go in the third one. You keep your head down, don't smile, look straight ahead, keep your tenant, anyway, but and YouTube videos help with that. You know what I mean? There's like, there's YouTube video for everything, and so I got away with it. And so
it's like the mafia, right? They're like,
oh my God,
been in our city making a lot of money.
And you can't even park like within a mile because like all of their city people are circling like great white sharks.
They want to wet their beaks, Ken. Come on. Just gotta wet my beak.
I know. Just a little bit. And so anyway, but I that's a special thing that I did for him, because the financials worked out. He had a family of 5. It didn't make and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So I went back and, normally I charge like $1,200 one way, they don't even get the word Miami out of their mouth. And I'm like, $1,200.
Yeah.
I went back and sharpened my pencil for him and so he's a regular,
You want to take care of the regulars. Yeah.
But, it's been good. It really has. It's got its ups and downs. There's terrifying moments and,
I love what you said about the nice thing about using all these independent, pretty much 1099, right? And structuring it that way is they have the business owner mentality.
Yep.
And that is actually, I've never heard anyone put it that way, but that is so true, where it's kind of like they're not deferring their thinking to you,
Yep.
right? They're going to be the problem solver, right? And I think that's why I see so many people taking on this structure. Also, it's like in slow times, you don't have this huge overhead, right? And you're building. So the value isn't, this in the vehicles. These are all depreciating assets. Maybe if you bought your own office, maybe that's an appreciating asset, but having your marketing, your online reviews, really your brand, right? Because that's really what's growing in a way, right? The more reviews you get. And then I also like that, and I insist, or everyone, try Yelp, try TripAdvisor. There's even other lead services, Bark, I've heard, Thumbtack. I mean, try it all. List yourself in all these places, because
cast a wide net.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if it's free.
No, yeah, exactly, right.
That's why I don't. Yeah, and I decided not to do like Facebook ads. Like I want to go to places, because I know from my previous life that what I was doing, I used to do a lot of business travel, a lot. And when you get to that number 8 on your checklist to book ground transportation, you've got your wallet out. You've got your credit card, you know what I mean? And you're like, I need to book transportation. And if I don't answer, the next guy's going to answer. So, you gotta be quick about it. And so.
Totally. Yeah. Well, Ken, thanks for doing this again. It's always
hanging out. I could talk to you all day long, Mark.
Yeah, no, it's so like you make these so easy, because I feel like I could talk to you forever. Thanks for giving me your time, Ken. And so anyone watching this, Ken, one word. I wish I'm not anywhere as consistent as you. Consistency. That's it, man. Like, so I'll leave everyone with that. Be as consistent as Ken. And all of a sudden he's like, his business growing, like, I'm sure faster and faster. And it's that, right?
And the new Google AI that you guys have implemented.
Oh yeah, no, well,
5 stars, brother. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we didn't even get to that, I guess. But you have noticed a quality improvement, right?
Yeah. I lost a ton of money with the new administration, not to get political, but I lost, and anecdotally, Canadians were about 25% of my business, because everybody comes to
that. Yeah.
Florida lost $80 billion in tourism.
Ooh.
Let me tell you.
Brutal.
And so it's, the hotels were slow. And so, so many Canadians would come down here just to spend 2 or 3 weeks down on Satellite Beach. They'd get Airbnbs, or they'd go on cruises or Disney, Universal. And I lost, because I get paid in advance. And so I was spending, I gave more refunds than it was.
Forgive my ignorance. What is it about Canadian? Like, I know whatever, but
yeah, so we got in a tariff war with them. Like,
right. Okay.
Right out of the gate. And then we said that we were going to annex them as another state in America.
no, I saw that. Yeah, that's
just the ridiculousness.
Yeah.
So those have real world consequences.
You've noticed less travel to the U.S.
Yeah. And so I have yet to have a Canadian customer in my vehicle since February.
No way. Because I know you get all this, like, snowbirds, you call them, right? Where
not a single. I lost all of my Canadian customers, and the AI has filled that gap. Now, of course, I'm saying, what if I had the Canadians and this AI? But
sure. And it should only, it's funny because we implemented it really when it was working consistently. It was probably mid-February or so, early March. And I really can't wait to see, because we've kept making adjustments, and I'm really curious, because I know it's July is usually, and August are your slowest time of year. Yeah. So I'm really curious, once we get back into, it should be better than ever. So
my capture rate's now like 22% or something ridiculous. It's great.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's crazy.
Awesome, man.
But I had a good time, man. Anytime you want to do this, I'm ready. I'll fit you into my schedule. I'm so busy.
I love it. Oh man. Well, good talking to you, Ken.
All right, bud. Have a good one.
You too.